Hello, my name is Kian and I work on Police and Crime Panel Policy at the Home Office. We're here today to shine a light on the work of independent members who sit on police and crime panels. I'm joined today by Sheila, who is an independent member on the Essex Police Fire and Crime Panel. Hi Sheila, thanks for joining me today. To
Right.
start with, could you tell us what an independent member on a police and crime panel is?
Of course, an independent panel member is essentially somebody who is slightly separate from the other panel members who tend to be or who are councillors, so local authority councillors. And I believe really that what we do is we add that little bit of extra independence to the whole proceedings. Essentially, the whole panel has a variety of some statutory roles which they obviously have to fulfill. So they do things such as they scrutinise the decisions and the actions taken by the Commissioner. They review the police and fire crime plan. They review the Commissioner's annual proposed precept and the appointment of some senior staff. Non-criminal complaints against the Commissioner, which is an interesting one to be involved in. And they can make reports or recommendations to the Commissioner as needed. So essentially, we are, as a whole, supposed to provide a balanced, objective, open-minded view to the proceedings and to, in a way, satisfy ourselves that the Commissioner is getting the assurance that he should be getting from the teams below him and the organisations with whom he works.
Amazing, thank you. It sounds like you get up to a lot by the sounds of it. Could you tell us a bit more then about the day-to-day tasks that you might do as part of the panel and how that works and how you work together with the other panel members, the elected members that you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, I think that, obviously, I'm slightly biased and not so objective in my views on this because I am obviously with Essex and it is my local county. I've lived in Essex all my life, so I'm slightly biased in that way. However, I do believe that the support that we have as a panel is exceptional from the Essex County Council team. So officially, we have to meet 4 times a year. There are occasionally other meetings. There might be an extraordinary meeting as well. So we will meet the panel members together at that time. However, Essex County Council team has also organised for us to have what we call a pre-meet. It used to be just before the official panel meeting, but now we tend to have it, say, 4 days before the meeting. In the first place, it makes sure that you've read the papers because it's the opportunity that we take to actually think about questions that we might want to ask or queries that we have. So you need to factor that into your diary that you will also have that additional meeting. There are a number of, I would call them subcommittees of the panel that you can get involved in as well. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a complaints one. So I'm actually involved in that. So where there is a non-criminal complaint about the Commissioner, we will sit as a panel and discuss that, supported by our county council team as well and the independent lawyer at the council. So yeah, essentially the role requires you to read the business that the Commissioner is conducting with the services. So the fine-tuned reports that will be produced and the annual reports that will be produced by them.
Sure, thank you. And as we were saying, really interesting work and a lot of work there by the sounds of it. So could you try and give us a sense of what the time commitment is like?
So I actually work full time, and I have to say this is one of the things I would flag up with anybody thinking of doing this. I work full time, and I work full time in the NHS, so I think most people can appreciate it's quite busy. I received our papers for our meeting next Thursday. I received them the day before yesterday. I can't tell you how many pages there are, but there's usually a couple of 100 pages. And it can be a variety of information. So it could be simply quarterly reports. It could be a lot of financial data. It could be something specific that's going on with the services. So you do need, depending on your background, I think as well, to allow yourself sufficient time to actually absorb that. I'll be reading it over the weekend. I'll do a quick read, and then I will go back and I will read it more thoroughly so that I'm prepared for Monday, which is when we will have our pre-meet. So any queries I have, I can raise then. It's really good because as many of the councillors attend as possible, so the rest of the panel attend as possible. And it's a great way to actually ask questions about things that you just don't understand or you're not sure about or that you've never heard of before. It's a great way to actually identify the typos, the silly little things that you don't really want to bring up at a meeting, but you can raise, and hopefully that will be fed back to the Commissioner, and you may get an answer or something can be looked into or corrected beforehand. So it's a really good way to actually interact with the councillors. I think they're a little bit more frank in that environment as well, because it is just the panel. It's not recorded, it's just the panel. You can say what you like, and yeah, as I say, it's a very good way to actually narrow down the questioning as well.
Sure, great, thank you. I feel like I'm definitely getting a really good insight into, you know, the role itself and how long it might take. And I guess my final question to you would be, why should members of the public apply to be an independent panel member?
I did it when COVID started, because I'd finished a contract and I was in that situation that I think lots of people were in. They were thinking, what can I do? I can't do anything clinical. We couldn't go anywhere to really help people. So what else could you do? And I think it made me reflect on what I could do going forward for my community. My background fits well with this because I'm used to dealing with non-executive directors and high-level reports and things like that, and dealing with large meetings. And I think that it actually gave me the opportunity to think about, well, actually, if I wanted to go down that route as well, this would be a really good way to do it, because I'm sort of achieving two things. I'm taking an active part in what goes on in my community and supporting it, but also I'm actually doing something beneficial for me as well, which is great, because it means that if in future I wanted to, for instance, apply for a non-executive director role, this would have stood me in good stead of being on the other side of the fence, of actually being the person that's actually having to challenge the Commissioner and ask the questions and scrutinise what they're doing. So I think anybody that's interested in doing anything like that, go for something like this. You don't have to have an in-depth knowledge. I certainly didn't. I had no real idea of how the services worked, or even how really Essex County Council worked as a whole. So you don't need that knowledge. You will find that your team and the other panel members will definitely help you along the way and increase your knowledge incredibly quickly.
Great to hear, and it's great to hear that there's those two sides to it, as you say. So it's great that you get to serve the community, but also for your own career aspirations, it gives really useful skills for that.
Absolutely. You could do all sorts of things, I think, once you actually have experience of being the independent person.